We are back. It is day 15 of Miracle March, and it's super, super, super exciting to be back. Guys, if you have not been tuning in, I want you to go back and look at some of these amazing sessions, these amazing coaching sessions that we've had with multiple different people, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different questions, and it's just been so, so, so good. And I feel so blessed to be able to have guide everyone that's been able to come on here and give them at least one takeaway that they could then go and implement. And so, if this is your first time, Miracle March is just that intentional month of transforming minds by influencing, motivating, and coaching aspiring entrepreneurs and equipping them with tools to succeed. And by guiding them, that's what we're doing. We're guiding persons to clarity, to having better understanding in their business. Today, we have an absolutely amazing guest. Absolutely amazing. And this dude is like across the world. Claus, how are you, bro? Tell us who you are, where you are, and then we could jump into any
Sure.
questions that you got.
Dude, Keston, absolutely no problem. First off, thank you very much for the opportunity of being here with you today, that I'm able, to have a conversation with you on this platform. Quick little background to myself. Dude, born and raised in Hamburg, Germany, to American mom and an Austrian dad. God, lived my first 16 years of my life in Germany, packed my stuff up for my junior and senior year of high school, went over to the States, went to high school, went to college, wrapped everything up. And after those first 4 years, I was a little bit done with being in the States, went back to Germany for when I was 22, started my college education over here in Germany. After pretty much a year of being in college, I was kind of fed up with that as well, and I got a pretty decent opportunity working in the States as a startup in San Francisco in 2011. Used that opportunity again to move back to the States. Pretty much worked for a mobile gaming company up in San Francisco for about 2.5 years. Was one of their first, pretty much their first intern. Worked for 2 years for them. Got everything situated for them for the first game that we brought out, and pretty much ever since I've been dibbling and dabbling in anything that I'm interested in.
That's pretty cool, man. So, were you a tech for game or a coder? What did you do for these
No,
gaming?
not a coder whatsoever. Pretty much my responsibility was the marketing number one, and then pretty much creating the game economies within the game. So pretty much, how do you retain the customers playing your games? How do you keep them in the game with the little bits and bytes that you can create, with the little coins popping up, and the little next phase, like, hey, here, hey, you know what? Next time we need here, you get this little card so you can play the next round. Kind of like incentivize the people to play longer in the game. So
That's
back my
interesting.
pretty much my background in university is marketing and finance. That's what I specialize in.
Oh, nice, man. Super cool. And how
Yep.
have you been able to use that in real estate? Because I know you're in real estate. So, how have you been able to use that skill in your background to help you in real estate?
So first off, there's a little bit more to my background story because I grew up in an entrepreneur family. My dad was a business owner. He worked actually in the movie and film industry, and he had his own post production company since I was a little kid. So I always grew up with the
Mhm.
mindset, there's always something you can do beyond just for yourself. You can do more for other people if you do larger, bigger things. That's how I
Mhm.
seen it. Like anybody around my dad, anybody I grew up with had their own business. So I thought, there's more than just being somebody and working for somebody. With that being said, pretty much dabbled, had my own few other businesses, um, worked worked my way up with my dad, and at some point I said, this movie industry, doing the post production is not my thing. I'm sitting every day in front of a computer, but at the end of the day, I always have to have a screen in front of me. Got the opportunity actually from an old friend of mine that was my tutor in Germany when I was in high school over here, who called me up at a random day after like 6 or 7 years not talking to him. He said, "Hey, Klaus, I know you're doing this. I know you're a generalist. I know you know stuff that I don't know. I'm founding now my new company, so we can start with our new project in the gaming industry. Would you like to have the opportunity to come over and talk to us and see if there'd be something for you? So pretty much a day later, 2 days later, packed my bag. I was single, didn't have kids at that time. Said, sure, I'll take the opportunity. Flew over to San Francisco, had a meeting with him in person, and he pretty much presented the idea that he had with his gaming company, which is pretty much specialized on sports games. Said, okay, sure, no problem. Worked my way up. I never worked before that in the gaming industry, so it was straight up advertisement, movies, the post production part, and some sort of
Yeah.
marketing that goes in the background of it. Was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. In regards to the opportunity, the people I met during those 2 years that I lived and worked
Mm-hmm.
in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And but the best way of how that helped me pretty much in real estate is not solely that helped me in real estate itself, but it gave me the foundation actually to be a little bit more creative, to understand the people that I'm talking to cater a fitting solution to their need. Yes, you're in a game. It's a little bit of a different field than being in a real estate, but it gave me honestly the capability and the direction of seeing what you can do with a little product, with a small product, and increase it to something else where you can have somebody um, come to you at the end of the day as a customer on a return basis. And the way I'm trying to do it right now in real estate, just a part of my journey, is
Mm-hmm.
pretty much I'm trying to gamify the process as of right now with the way the market is, to see how can you create a platform. That's what I'm working on right now with a few other people. How can you gamify the process of real estate investment and put
Mm-hmm.
it on a platform and turn it into a more of a real life game? Besides that, what I did too, man, I pretty much up on every opportunity that I can. For 4 years, I ran a food truck company or a food catering business in Germany.
Nice.
After I married my wife in 2014, yeah, crazy story. Got married in 2014. Had the wonderful idea after we lived in the States. You know what? Why don't we travel the world? Or my wife said, you know what? I would like to live in Europe. I said, sure, no problem. What do you want to do in Europe? Like, there are a lot of things we can do. I know I have the background in marketing. Do I really want to go back into an advertising agency? I said, no, not really. Do I know that people love food? Do I know that people love themed food or themed experience the way
Mm-hmm.
Americans do compared to when you live in Germany? With that being said, within like 2 months, we packed our stuff, bought a food truck, had our first season
Wow.
as a with the food truck and the food catering industry, and then we specialized after our first year on corporate caterings, which was superb because Hamburg, where I'm from originally, is the second largest city in Europe, and I had some connections from my dad in the movie industry to cater most of the large movie events and premieres,
Mm-hmm.
and through other connections that I had back then, we pretty much set up a layout how to actually counter and attack all the large corporate entities that are in Hamburg for their corporate events. And pretty much
Yeah.
after a year and a half, we went from one truck to four trucks to 12 employees, and yeah, it all came crashing down. Just to make it real short, it all came crashing down in 2020. March 2020 was pretty much
COVID.
a great year, so to speak. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man, that freaking kicked us. I don't know if I'm able to swear, but it kicked us in the butt. So,
Yeah.
but with that being said, I think it was a blessing because we already had two kids. We were married. It was a quite stressful time, to be honest with you. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that put actually stop in the whole process to say, you know what, working 16, 18 hours, being reliable on employees was a little bit too much at that time. With my wife was pregnant with our third child, so we said, what do we do? What do we do? COVID
Yeah.
came. We said, you know what, let's pack everything up. We sold everything off, and I pretty much took a year off. And after that, I applied for a job in a real estate company in Germany that specialized on property development.
What was your mindset like throughout that COVID season? Like, and having to pivot.
Uh,
What was that like?
the first, honestly, I'm saying I'm pretty much an upbeat person and know where I want to go, and nothing pretty much holds me down. Of course, there are some moments in time that it drags you down. If there's a lot of stress, if there's a lot of turmoil in your life, or turmoil in work and business. But pretty much when COVID hit, and we were told we're not allowed to work for like a half a year, I just looked at my wife. You know what? This is a world event where the whole world said in a cohesive way, like, hey, stop. We got to put everything on hold. We don't know what's going to happen. I just looked at her. This never happened, ever, ever. Never
Mm-hmm.
in the world have the world economies or the Western countries said, let's put a stop on this. Looked at her, told her, like, you know what, let's take a week off. Let's see what happens within the next week. Let's just calm down. Let's not stress. Nothing is gonna hurt us as much as us freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And after a week, we actually went on vacation to that beautiful house that you see in the background, which is our family home in Switzerland. Quite
Nice.
happy about that. Took yeah, it's been in the family for about 250 years, so was
Wow.
passed on from generation to generation. So that's my home. That's where I feel the safest and the most comfortable. Spent about a week there with the kids, and just looked at her and say, you know what, let's take about a year off for the rest of the year. We sell everything off, and let's figure out what we really want to do. Let's figure out what we can do, set up to actually be at a point in life within the next 2 to 3 years or 5 years, pretty much the goal setting structure
Mm-hmm.
that we discussed, of what we want to do. Did it stress me out at the beginning? Hell yeah. Like I was like, oh my god. Like we had contracts for about like 1.5 million already under signature. We had one
Mm-hmm.
of the larger open air venues under contract for us to serve our food.
Yeah.
And pretty much 2 weeks after the German government said, hey, everything needs to be closed for the next 6 months, we got the calls and emails like, hey, we got to cancel the event, we got to cancel the event, we got to cancel the event. I looked at my wife, see what's happening. Let's pack our stuff up and let's figure something out. So it took about like 6 months where I said, you know what, just let's relax, take care of the kids, see that we spend a little more time with them, which we didn't do prior,
Mm-hmm.
or in the previous years before I didn't do that, because at that time when we had the food truck company, my family was living in the
Hustling.
States.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got that from my dad, man. That's the we're two generation. My dad is a little bit older, so he was
So
a hustler. He never.
tell me about that experience with spending more time with your wife and your kids. What was that like in terms of because it's not that they're new to you, but every day, all the hours in the day had to be something different. So what was the learning curve? What was that like?
Oh, you grow, learn what a patience actually means. What Yeah, patience. It's the one thing that I learned. Our kids still went to school over here, so they were out of school, but we still had to teach them. So now you were
Mhm.
there in the limbo with not having a job, so to speak. We quit ourselves. We could have worked to some extent, but we said, okay, you know what? We can't really do what we need to do. So I felt in a limbo, and I said, okay, you know what? We have the kids at home every day. We're not allowed to go out. We couldn't go to the playground. I was quite stressful with all, with all honesty, Kirsten. Um, but it taught me honestly in the year that we kind of were stuck at home and the only thing we were able to do go outside the house, do a walk around the house, and at some point we were able to go to the playgrounds again. That was just a moment in time spending the actual time with my kids. I think that I'll never forget, even though it was super stressful. Because when I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur himself. He had about like 250 employees, so he was out and about from Monday through Friday, and he came
Mhm.
home on Fridays, and he was there for the weekend. So I always wanted, when I grew up, anyways, to spend more time with the kids, which I didn't do in the previous years. So I took that actually an opportunity the year that we pretty much took off, not doing a lot, I would say, to spend more time, as much time with the kids. So knowing that those are the most valuable people in my life, the most precious things I've ever have, I
Mhm.
enjoyed the heck out of it.
That's awesome, man. That's it's such an
Yeah,
amazing
yeah.
story because so many people could identify with going through getting to know this person or persons in their house in a different way. because although we live with these people, it's like spending 24 hours a day. It's
Ooh.
like it's a different person when it's 24 hours versus when it's I see you for like what 3 4 hours from the time I get home and then go to bed. And so you don't really know that person as well as you know them when you're 24 hours together, right? So
Oh no.
it's super interesting, man. And
Dude,
my question, go ahead.
yes. No, sorry, Keston, go ahead, please.
No, I was gonna ask you, did you have anything in particular? Because we were on the Daily Dial. I said, man, I want to help. This is my month of helping. Here's a calendar, and you said yes. You got day number 15. What
Yes,
what
lucky
what
number.
how could I help you? What questions do you have for me, or what guidance would you like, or did you just want to hang out?
Oh, number one, just to be in a room with you was one thing that I wrote down the first time I was on the daily dial. I saw. I said, "Okay, I gotta get connected with him. His energy is the one that I gotta get attached to." Number two, the way you speak with clarity every time you're on the Zoom, the way you speak and the way you word the perspective that one needs to take on the journey they're on just resonates with me every time. So
Mm,
the 2 hours on a Tuesday, I know I'm always in the background, I'm quiet, but I listen to every single word you say, and I have my notes app on my computer, and every time you say something, I know, okay, this is important. Keston is right. I'll type it down. I'll type it down. I'll type it down. But
wow.
beyond that, of course, there's some sort of opportunistic individual in me, as I kind of said, what, of course, there was a heavy hit with 2020 and a little bit after that, so you kind of figure out where you're at. You get two kids,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
don't really know where to go with that. Where's the next step in life? I was 33 at that time. Yeah, 30, about to turn 33. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Am I trying still to compete with my father where he was at with 33, where he was at in life? A few years after that, where do we go right now? So one of the reasons that I say, you know what, I'll take that opportunity with Keston to hop on a call with him, this now one, is to understand your perspective, your way of thinking, and the way of teaching, which I completely am just thankful for every time. Every time Tuesday comes on, my wife knows, don't bother me. That's the time right before I hop on my calls, anyways. So give me that. Other than that, honestly, it's just to understand a little bit more of how you view mindset, how you designate, and how you framework the clarity in your process where you want to be in life. Do I know somewhere where I want to go? Of course. But sometimes having somebody who went through things in life in a different way, has a different background, has a different perspective of what they can tell you, what they can teach you.
Yeah. Dude, for me, um, I feel like there's a mix of what I was born with and what I learned from um, growing up and going through different struggles and things in life. The reason why I said what I was born with is because I had a lot of teachers that thought that I was rude or I would give them a back answer because I always had a different perspective. And to them, wanting to keep me in within the box of how I should think was very hard for me. And so I got in a lot of trouble for speaking my mind, speaking how I felt or how I seen things, right? And then I you pair that with life and the things that I've been through with life, keeping that same perspective on seeing things differently, or I sometimes I call myself a status quo disruptor, right? Like I challenge
That's a good one.
things.
So I got to write that
So
down.
man,
Status quo disruptor.
I totally challenge status quo stuff. Um and then when I think about it more, when you think about inventors, people who believed that like you could we could create a plane. We could create this device that could keep us in the air for an extended period of time, especially when we're coming from Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble days, right? And
Yeah,
people
what that
like,
would do.
exactly, you just have these thinkers who disrupted status quo, like, and for me, I'm like, it's great to learn knowledge and to learn what other people have done, but to create something, I don't think everything in the world is already created from we've already figured it out. I believe that all the laws are created, the laws in the universe, but there are things that we still don't understand. And you can never go to another level of understanding without challenging the things that is done, right? You got to go beyond what's done. So you learn information and then you go beyond what's already done and you come up with new ideas, new innovations, and you
Yeah.
call those people innovators. And so I see myself as a innovator that wants to discover new things, but it requires me to disrupt just fitting in a mold and ask more questions, ask the whys, ask the how. And it just got me to reading a lot now. Um, and yeah, it got me to reading a lot now. It got me to because you gotta first understand what is to then use
Yeah,
what is.
sure.
And if you get the laws, if you understand the laws of nature, then you could use, just like how we've used gravity to create planes and to know how to go up and down and use gravity. If we understood the laws of nature, then we could innovate more things because we understand the different laws, the laws of magnetism, the laws of, like, all these things that exist. We didn't create it. We discovered it and we learned how to manipulate it. And so
Hmm.
I think in terms of that, like, okay, if I understand these things, then I could manipulate these laws to get this outcome. Does that make sense?
Dude, 100% is riding the wave of nature, pretty much using the societal framework that was set up, understanding the process of how this box works, and seeing what is beyond that box. That's how I view it too. Question what is in front of you and what is behind that mountain that is just right in your face. How do you get around it? Is that the actual truth that you got to follow? Same as
Exactly.
you. I'll always same. I wouldn't say same upbringing that I had with you, but pretty much the same process. Always questioning everything. Was I said that I was rude once in a while in school? Absolutely. Was I talking back to teachers? I don't think so. More or less, I think I really had awesome teachers, but I always questioned what they taught me. And
Sure.
still to this day, I'm in contact with two of my teachers. Probably one of the greatest people I've ever met. And they always said, question what is in front of you. Question what is in front of you. But yeah.
Yeah, I wish
100%
I was
relate to
taught
that
that.
person.
I,
What?
w- I wish I was taught to question what's in front of me. I was taught to not question, to you should just listen to what I say and just do it. That's what I was taught, which to me was like, well, why? Right? I would
Yeah,
question that.
100%.
I would question their command to not question them. Like, why? You know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I had the
But
one teacher who was very, very influential. And of course, being around my dad because of the young age, I always got stuck. I was stuck on my dad's hip because he was never there. And as soon as he was in town for meetings, I said, Dad, can I go with you? Dad, can I be with you? And I saw how he talked to people. That every time he had a board meeting, whatever meeting he had, two, three, four, five people, he sat there, he listened. And they spoke about projects, whatever. And he always asked, why? Why is it that way? Why do you got to go this route? Because he always taught me when he grew up, because he pretty much grew up right after World War II. He was born in 1945. 3 weeks
Mhm.
after World War II was done in a
Wow.
tent in the Czech Republic. So his upbringing was a little bit more rough than I had. So I have to thank my father for pretty much everything I have. I would
Mhm.
take the perspective of life. But he always said, you know what, when somebody says something to you, listen to it, understand what they're saying to you, understanding why they're saying something to you, but
Mm.
question if that's something that you got to do as well the way they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he
One.
doesn't like that I do it to him right now. So every time he tells me something right now, I question him. It's like, that that's not true, right? He's like, oh, Claus, shut up. Like, no, that's the way it is right now. But I think that just comes with age, being a little bit grumpier. So
Sure, sure. So what's the mindset of someone doing real estate from a total, like, all across the world, bro? Like, what does that look like? What does your business look like? Like, talk about that.
my business right now, I started pretty much a year ago, focusing solely working on the American market. After the journey of taking it pretty much a year off after COVID, I said, what do I want to do? And I always had the intrinsic motivation of working in real estate. I never knew
Mhm.
how to do it in a sense. Yes, I said, okay, you're a realtor. I know people that are, developers and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, is that really what I want to do? Is that really the path that I wanted to take? Because my dad told me since I'm a little kid, he said, Klaus, there are four things in life you can focus on and work in. And he said, there's food, there's death, there's taxes, there's housing. And I already tried food, which kind of like crumbled after COVID. And I said,
Yeah.
do I really want to go back to school to be a tax attorney, anything else? I said, no, absolutely not. I said, do I want to have to do anything with death? I like, no, not whatsoever. Said to say, so focus on housing because whatever happens, housing will always be there in any regard. In any way, whatever happens, people always have to live somewhere except
Mhm.
if there's a catastrophic disaster on the global scale. But other
Yeah.
than that, that's the one thing you get to focus on. And my dad had some investments himself, so I learned at a younger age when I was growing up in teenage years that he said just buy where you want to live. Was that okay? Understood. Okay, just buy, purchase property where you want to live. But during that time, when I kind of had to decide, when I felt myself being in a limbo, I looked at my wife and I said, the best thing we can do right now, in my opinion, is hopping in the industry of real estate. Do we have to be a realtor? No, but I know for sure that that is where you can create the wealth that I always wanted to build for my family, what my dad has done for me. Even though I would say he was quite fortunate with his work and his businesses, he always, whenever I asked him for something, he said, "Okay, what are you going to do for that? Like, are you going to work for it?" So I remember first time trying to buy a bike when I was like 12 years old, like $800. He said, "Okay, cool. Do you get the money?" He said, I looked at him like that. Nope. So he said, "Okay, Monday morning, come to my office, meet me in my office. So and so is going to be there." So I went to his office after school. One of his employees was there. He said, "Okay, cool. Come here. You're going to clean the toilets right now." I said, "Okay, cool. Clean the toilets right now." So that was one of my first jobs, cleaning the toilets in his office or in his company. And after that, I was promoted of being the assistant archivator for the archives of the videotapes that I had. Because back then it was not digitalized; it had big tapes,
Yeah.
disc, and whatever. So 12 years old, 4 hours of 12 hours a week, cleaning stuff, putting it away. And I looked at my wife and I said, there's something that I want to do in life because I think the way I grew up, my children deserve as much as I received when I grew up. And I know there's only a few ways that I can do that. And the
Mhm.
one way I said is real estate. What do I do? I know I'm a salesperson, I know marketing, but how do I do the next step? So for a year and a half, I worked for a property development company here in Germany who focused pretty much as a wholesale acquisition. That's all it was at the end of the day. So all it was, find the property, door knock, see if they want to sell, and their tagline was pretty much is we're buying properties that are underdeveloped based on the unit counts that are able to be built on those properties.
Mm.
So I worked for them for about a year and a half, started door knocking for them, got up in the sales team, got up in the marketing team. And after a year and a half, I said, you know what, this is good, but it's not what I want to do. This is the industry that I want to work in, but it's not what I want to do for somebody else.
Sure.
So I looked at her and I looked at the numbers and I said, what? The difficulty of doing this in Germany on a scale where I want to be in the next 5 to 10 years is not feasible, as you don't have property in Germany. The only way you can get somebody's information, you got a door knock. That's the only thing you can do here. You can sue somebody or you door knock and get their information and get
Wow.
connected to them. There's no other way around it. So I
Yeah.
looked at her and said, based on the numbers, based on the perception of the way people live. In Germany, if you buy a house, you live in there till you die. That's pretty much how people receive it. And not a lot of people purchase properties. So I said, okay, how can you do that on scale? What is the market you should focus on? I told her, you know what? I think the American, the US market is more applicable for what I want to do. I didn't even know how, where, what I start, what I'm going to do, but I told her just based on the trajectory of numbers, based on the churn rate, that's where the gaming economy comes. How many returns can you get from a customer? It's a whole different scale compared from here, from Germany to the States. So I'd say, you know, probably approximately based on numbers, every 5 to 7 years, the family States moves. So it's like, you know, every 5 to 7 years, somebody sells. There are so many people in the States, so many houses in the States, kind of, you know, re-engineered. I would say, I would hope I did it correctly. Is that actually the market that I need to be in, and is that where I want to be? So it's pretty much at the end of the day based on a number, based on the trajectory of the market, the way houses are being pretty much flipped, not in the sense of actually rehabbing, but how many houses, how often can you flip your money? How often can you flip a house to somebody else?
Sure.
And then based on numbers, it's just way higher than in Germany and in Europe. So I told her, you know what, we live in Europe right now. That's pretty much my hometown where we're at. Let's now set up a business in the States of trying to start with an acquisition company. Yeah. Pretty much still a solopreneur. Have a few corporate rentals over here in Germany. Have 2 right now, and I'm pretty much at a sticking point of doing the next step in the States.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would a next what would a next step be for you in the States?
Oh, getting connected, getting the ball rolling. Pretty much I've been there a few times. Contract got canceled. Pretty much the main focus right now is setting up a acquisitions arm of the conglomerate, if I can say it that way, they want to set up down the road for the next 5 to 10 years. So the main focus is acquisitions. Where do you do? What is the focus? What is the exit strategy for this property? So right now my focus, pretty much similar to what I did over here, is finding underdeveloped lots, inner city lots. They don't have to be lots itself, but properties. They don't even have to be run down. But I know based on the zoning and building requirements and codes that they're underdeveloped. So right now I'm in the process of moving forward. I've connected with a lot of other Sub-2 students. I'm hopping right now on a team with Sam Singh and Cody Rose, helping them out with their acquisitions process. And just getting connected, moving the ball rolling. So there are certain goals, timelines that I have set, and I'm reaching more or less, I'm able to reach my goals based on the timelines, based on the numbers that I got to do. But yeah, that's pretty much the outlook that I have for my business right now.
That's amazing, bro. And it's a super smart way to get started. You know, partnering up, being on the team with those guys to elevate you, get you to a number that you want to get to, being able to bring that income in and build momentum, right? That's essentially what you're doing. You're building your momentum.
And I got to tell you, there was one moment about 9 months ago. Was it 9 months ago or 10 months ago? I was just starting Sub-2. It was pretty much from 2021 to 2022 when I joined. I said, damn, I'm going to join Sub-2. Am I not going to join Sub-2? Is that really what I should be doing? Like, I was at a sticking point of what I should do the next step, because I know playing not professional, but collegiate sport, football, the best way to move forward is with a team. 100%. It can't be one person, it can't be 2 person, maybe just a coach if you do martial arts, maybe, you know, whatever. If you play football, you got your whole defense, your backers, your linemen. And I said, you know what? I said, I got to do what I got to do. And I remember, and I don't know why, I can't remember why, but I was scrolling through Instagram. And there was one reel you posted, which said, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself right now of increasing, I think it was pretty much more or less increasing the cash flow that I want from whatever to 100 grand a month within the next 9 months. And I listened to that, and then I started scrolling through your stuff. Said, okay, cool, yeah, I exactly know how I feel. Like, this is what I want to do. I understand his perspective. I thought so, and that's where I say, you know what, this is where you want to go. This is where you have to go. So that was quite an influential moment for me, saying, okay, let's step it up. And after that, I think a week later, I joined Sub-2, and I said, okay, you got to keep the ball rolling and get forward or move forward.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing, dude. That's really, really amazing, man. I mean, how is there anything that I can answer or help you before we get out of here? Any pressing question? I answered a few of them for you already, but in any
Uh,
final questions?
Final question. Oh my God, I could go another 2, 3 hours with you, honestly, going more and more in depth on clarity and perspective. Do I think I'm clear? That can be absolutely not. Even though I think I'm sound quite confident right now, I get up every morning with insecurities, and am
Yeah.
I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? So one question would be what is your view on actually fighting, I wouldn't say the inner demon, but those inner insecurities that you have when you get up every morning?
To fight those insecurities, those thoughts, I typically like to have, I call it mind insurance. Mind insurance
Okay.
because they're inevitable. I still get them. Everyone gets them. Where that inner person tells you, reminds you of the things that you did when you were a kid or a few years ago. It reminds you of your
Hmm.
failures. It just comes back. And so I have a process, my morning routine, that helps me to take myself out of, regardless of how I wake up that day, because you can't really control the thoughts you have when you wake up. You want to be grateful, but who knows, right? And so I have a morning routine, regardless of how I wake up, that would put me in the right state for the rest of the day. And so
Okay.
my morning routine, typically I do my devotions where I pray and, just really connect with my higher power. Then I learn something. So I learn, when I learn, I'm inspired. It makes me feel
Yeah.
motivated. I'm like, oh man, I could do something like this, right? Then I visualize, visualize my day, kind of like map my day out visually. I feel it. I make sure like I'm connected with my day. Then I
Hmm.
go to the gym and I go work out.
Yeah.
And after that, man, I'm typically pretty set for the day. Typically. Um and I that's like a EpiPen from my mind. So regardless of when I don't feel good or I feel like I have an allergic reaction, I could use my morning routine and it breaks it out. It helps me to not feel like that. And
Is that
so
how you view it actually, as an allergic reaction, so to speak? If you come into that moment where you say, okay, get into that conundrum, like I don't feel that way. I know the motivation is not there. The insecurities if I'm doing the right thing, insecurities from your past, kind of what you said before.
yeah. Yeah, I view it like that because they come in spurts, right? They're not always there.
Absolutely.
And so a better example that I could give or an analogy is riding a bicycle, right? Let's say you're riding a bicycle and typically you use balance distribution, right? Because you're going from left to right, although it's like it feels like you're riding straight, but if you really look, unless you're
No.
like on like a tightrope or something, like you're typically going from left to right, riding like this, right? Because it's balanced
Yeah.
distribution. Now, what I see it as is understanding and knowing the habits when you're like coming to the left and you feel like life is pulling you this way. What do you do to bring yourself back to the right?
Back.
And then
Yeah.
sometimes you're all the way to the right and it's like, well, what do you do to bring yourself back to the left? Because ultimately the goal is to get yourself to be as close to the center to make it seem like you're riding straight, but you're really balance distributing your mind and all the challenges that comes up. But it's what do you do when you're all the way to the left? And so I typically have things that I do for any, like almost anything that I go through. I'm like, oh, I need to do this. So like before coming on these, I listen to music because that gets me in a energy to be able to
Yeah.
deliver. Right, when if I'm anxious, I have something that I could do to get rid of my anxiety. When I'm having bad thoughts, like there's just different things that I have in my arsenal where I'm able to balance, distribute my weight, distribute my mind,
Yeah.
just to keep as straight and as focused as possible so that I'm not distracted and pulled away by how I feel, but I'm able to bring myself back as close to center to continue moving forward.
That's a lot of inner self work that includes, right? Of understanding yourself.
1000%. And it's there's a lot of data collection, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a whole lot of data collection because now you're asking yourself why. So when these things come up, it's like, okay, Cass, why do you feel like this? Why are you mad right now? Why are you having this emotion? And being able to answer those questions honestly is a challenge.
Yeah. I agree on that. Yeah.
It's a challenge to be honest with yourself about things. But when you do and when you are, then you're able to be like, oh, I'm jealous. Right now I'm jealous of what this person is doing. So what do I do to not be jealous? Or I'm mad. And so it's very hard to confess those things to yourself because naturally pride doesn't make you want to confess and to say those things that I'm jealous or I'm hating or like anything like that, or whatever it is. It's a matter of admitting it to yourself, and then you could take a checkpoint, say, okay, this is what got me here. Now what do I do from here? And the next time I'm here, I'm going to know what to do. So it's almost like you're pre-planning. The next time this happens, I could do this to counteract this emotion.
That's a truth spoken like a prophet. I completely. Well, it's true. That's what I pretty much went through in life, and a lot of moments. Even though I bounced around the world, or wherever I lived, wherever I worked, being in London, being in Germany, or being in the States. That's one thing that sometimes that's the one most difficult thing that I found out. We're pretty close in age, is trying to find actually the inner balance with yourself and knowing yourself. So sometimes I try to teach my kids, which I'm struggling with every day. And my son is right next to me, actually playing with his Legos. They just snuck into my office right now. He might be popping up right there. That's CJ. CJ just kept in.
What's up,
So
man?
yeah, that's gonna be living forever on the tube. Uh, he doesn't know that yet. Hey, CJ, just give me a second. But yeah, no, I can completely relate to that. Yeah, that is the biggest struggle I had wherever I was trying to find my inner self, trying to find that balance.
Mm-hmm.
But Kesson, I would have a million more questions for you because that's something that is, I think, of utmost importance to know thyself. And
Yeah.
sometimes I just wake up and I still do not know myself the way I think I should know myself.
And so that's the homework I'm going to give you, bro, to be able to
What can I do?
go date yourself
Date
intentionally.
myself? Okay.
Yeah, date yourself intentionally, because what we do is we tend to think that we should know ourselves without taking ourselves on an intentional date, spending intentional time with yourself. Just like when you were dating your wife, you did things intentionally. You didn't just wake up and be like, let's figure it out. You're already here, so let's just figure the day out. You were super intentional in getting to know her. Be intentional with getting to
True.
know yourself so that you can know the things that makes you happy, makes you sad, makes you tick, makes you mad, right? So you just want to be able to really connect on a deeper level with you. I still go to lunch and stuff by myself. just to be. Even when I'm home, I turn my phone upside down. No TV is my preference, and I'm just in my own thoughts, like talking to myself. Dude, how you doing? What are you working
True.
on? What's going on? Like, be intentional with that.
That's true. That's one thing I haven't done in a while, going out on lunch by myself. That's one thing I honestly, just the way you're saying that, the way you're wording it right now, the one, I wouldn't say the best phases, but the best times I was really in a wasteland with myself, being in balance, the way you described it before. That was actually when I was, I think, more intentional with the time that I took for myself, just kind of retrospectively thinking about it right now. Say, okay, when was I at my best? And I think I was at my best when I knew how I was feeling during a day. I today I went out for lunch by myself because I know my kids are home on a break. I said
Mhm.
I don't want to share the food. I got to have some time for myself. Grabbed some lunch, went on a walk for a park, and I actually felt pretty good. So I understand. Yeah, being more by yourself.
That's awesome, dude. Well, bro, thank you so much for being here. Like, you're such an amazing and a ray of light. You're super cool. Your story is amazing. And
I
I'm
haven't told you
inspired.
half of the story.
I bet. I bet, which I could see, and I just really appreciate you for being here, man. Any final words before we sign off for today?
Oh, first off, if I would have known, I would have been on an actual life. I would have dressed differently. So sorry for the drip that I'm wearing right now. I apologize. I apologize for that tremendously.
You look
Other
great, dude.
other than that, Kirsten, I just have to thank you for every day you speak and every day I'm able to listen to you, for the wisdom you preach and for the lessons you show us. May it be just for myself that I view it the same way everybody else does it, but the words you speak are truly helpful. And other than that, Kirsten, I'm a person who shows a lot of love, so I love you even though I've never met you in person. I appreciate what you have been doing for me and what you're going to do in the future for me. So
Thank you.
thank you for everything.
Thank you
You're
so
an
much,
amazing
brother.
person yourself. Can't wait to see you in person.
Can't wait to see you in person, brother. Thank you so much. Guys, another one amazing event, another amazing session with someone that's all the way across the world. Like, this Miracle March has gone international, y'all. And this brings me joy. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys got a lot of value from this conversation. I hope you guys got the mindset of Claus, and just could really soak and see yourself in some of the conversations, so that you're able to implement, you're able to grow. That is the intention of this, giving persons next steps so that they can navigate their lives and go on to living a better and more prosperous and transformed life. So, guys, catch you guys tomorrow for day 16 of Miracle March. Super exciting. Signing off. Peace and love. Catch you guys tomorrow.